Anindita, first of all, welcome to the broadcast. Oh, you were the former editor of Mint Lounge, the former features director at Vogue India, and now you're an author. You've come up with a new book as well, your first book rather. What does your job entail? Let's start with the first question.
The job of an author.
Right.
Well, I have a day job as well. So I did quit journalism to focus more on writing fiction. When you're used to working, it's very hard to just be at home and churn out these stories. So I do have a day job. I work in a global social impact consultancy where I lead communications for the Asia Pacific region. But I think your question more specifically is, what does my job of being an author entail?
Correct.
It entails a lot of sitting in front of a blank screen, a lot of self-doubt and frustration.
Self-doubt.
And frustration and impatience about the process. But then when things do move forward, it entails a lot of joy as well. Yeah.
And so I was saying, if you're filtering copies and stories can be very daunting. So how do you do it? In the first place, and then when it gets to the magazine, that's the thing that everybody would want at the end of it. Right? How do you do it?
So I think every place you work, every magazine, every brand, every website will have its own, needs and tone. So as an editor, what you pick or what makes the cut will change. But what will remain constant for me, whether it's for a magazine or what I do now, which is more social impact writing, is that it has to be compelling. It has to, capture the story in a succinct way, and it has to have a unique point of view. So for instance, 20 people could write about the Shillong Literary Festival if you were here.
Correct.
And you could write about it in different ways. But what is the story that begins with an interesting and a personal hook that tells you something unique that a regular account will not have?
Correct.
So it has to have the hook, and then it has to be succinct and give the reader a kind of unique takeaway.
All right, well, let's talk about your book, The Illuminated, which explores themes of women's autonomy and social power structures in the contemporary world here in India. What was the inspiration behind the book in the first place?
So The Illuminated is, at its very core, a feminist book. It's a book about a mother and daughter trying to find their own light. So they are the illuminated after this male figure, the father or the husband figure, kind of, who's a very successful, gregarious person that both of them love. He dies on page 1. So it's really about women's search for identities, women's search for their for being able to write and tell their own stories.
Right. So what's your writing process like? Do you have quirky habits, or how does it work for you before you jump into writing?
So one of my favorite novelists, Jonathan Franzen, he says something that I really hold dear, that no writing that is any writing that isn't the writer's personal terrifying journey into the unknown is not worth anything. So as a novelist, while you do have a brief, you have an idea of what the plot is, what the characters are about, sometimes what the end is, you really have to be open to the process of letting the story shape while you're writing it. You can't go in with a very preset view. In terms of quirks, because writing involves so much of sitting at a desk for so long, you do need physical exercise. I do a headstand, I do a shoulder stand before I begin writing every time I sit down. So that way, I feel it's a very practical purpose. It's a rush of blood to the head, but it's also a way to ensure that you're moving around a bit. Yoga is good for the mind as well. So yeah.
Oh. So since we're talking about books, what is one book that everyone should read apart from your own?
Apart from my own novel. Right.
And why?
In terms of, I think it's an easy answer for me. For me, it really is God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy, because this is for viewers here in Shillong, right? And for readers in India, I feel that really is the book, the contemporary Indian English novel that kind of shaped the new writing the new novel in English today, and it's just a wonderful book covering so many themes that are relevant for
Right.
us as humans in the world today. So I definitely recommend God of Small Things, no questions. Yes, asked.
Okay. So now that you're here in the literary setting, if you will, let's talk about the festival. What makes the Shillong Lit Fest special?
I mean, first the venue. What other festival has cherry blossoms, The venue, but also clearly a very interested and enthusiastic young crowd. I saw so many students here today, which
Correct.
is, such a lovely thing. And because it's organized by the government of tourism, and, there are IAS officers and officials involved, I must say it's really like clockwork. It's so impeccably run.
True.
And all of us have come from, leaving our work and homes aside from such distances, that it's really good to come to a place which is, everything is running like clockwork, and everyone seems to be really happy to be here. And there's so much love. Even the dinner last night was
How was it?
so interesting, I don't think I can reveal much, but
Okay.
in which other state will you have like major leads of the government singing and playing the guitar?
Can you ask? You can't ask for anything better than that. So talk to me a little bit. If you're not signing books, or if you're not on panel, and if you're not doing interviews, what do you normally like to do when you visit Litfest?
I like to listen to writers speak. I haven't studied writing formally, as in I didn't do an MFA. So I truly believe that, and this is true for any aspiring writer. I feel that
Right.
everything that I have learned about writing has been through listening to writers talk about certain truths in fiction, or their process, or their methodology, or also what they like.
True.
You asked me what book I like. I always ask the authors that I like reading. If I meet them, I will ask them what they like reading.
Alright.
So I think just listening to writers, reading interviews with writers. Paris Review does these 10,000 word articles on them, is very good. So I definitely I love listening to writers, and I, more than even them talking about process, it's very special to hear a writer read their own work. So I really like doing that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So finally, before I let you go, you know what? What do you think of the reading culture amongst the youth in the 21st century? Against the backdrop of everybody's talking about digital, etc. What are your thoughts?
So there are two sides to it. I think on the surface, and this is a topic that was covered over our talks, multiple talks today actually, the fact that our attention spans are shrinking because of the internet usage. And that's not true just for Gen Z.
Okay.
I am a millennial and I'm a writer, and even I find it really hard to stick to and commit to and finish a book.
Right.
And because I'm a writer and I have so many writer friends, there are some books I have to read. So
Right.
I have to be really strict with myself and say no TV today and really read. So I think it's becoming hard for all of us. That is an issue, and everyone's talking about how do we address that. On the other hand, I must say, I was really surprised in a very good way by the number of young readers who reached out to me, even like people I didn't know, not just at festivals like this. Like you saw the people who
Right.
came for the book signings, a couple of them, they were really young,
Right.
they're under 25. Or people who DM me on Instagram and reach out from small towns, from all parts of the country, saying, I bought your book and I read it. Some 16-year-old from Bhubaneswar
Wow.
wrote to me. So I want to say that while we're saying it's a problem, also anecdotally, it's amazing how young people are reading. So I think we can't just put the blame on young people. We need to write better books that are possibly hooking them.
I agree.
Yes.
I said that was the last question. However, I'll still ask you one more question,
Sure.
and that is, how has the book changed you after you finish writing it? How has it changed you as a person?
I love that question. I think it's taught me a very important quality that I would like to have, and I think it's good for everyone to have, which is being non-judgmental. Because the thing that fiction asks you to do, when a character in a novel does something immoral or unethical, fiction doesn't ask you to agree with them, but fiction asks you to have empathy for them.
True.
So I think writing this book, living with these characters who are not perfect, because we are not perfect, living with them for 5 years has really kind of made me want to not pass judgment on someone and have more empathy, that if someone has behaved in a certain way that I consider incorrect,
Right.
to try to understand their reality and why they've done it. Which doesn't mean that you pardon them and forgive
True.
them and let there be serial killers. That's not what I mean. But I think that's been a personal learning, which is trying to look at multiple perspectives, because I had to do that for my characters. So yeah, to expand my vision of what a fact is, and instead to see multiple truths, because your truth, Aaron, is different from my
Wow.
truth. Whereas
Very
we are
true.
both at the same festival, the reality of it is the same, but your experience at the festival, I'm sure,
Will be
is very
different.
different from mine.
True.
And so, as a fiction writer, if you're a character in my novel, is to try to understand Aaron's experience of the festival and write it that way, and not just by my way.
True.
So that's been a big learning.
Anindita, it's been an insightful conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy your stay while you're still here.
Thank
you so much.
for the great questions. Yes, thanks.